For the next hour, the green and gold are in charge. Welcome to In the Huddle on the Woodward Radio Network. Now, here's Bill Scott and Green Bay offensive lineman TJ Lang.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome to In the Huddle at the fifth quarter in Little Chute, along with TJ Lang. I'm Bill Scott. Good to have you along this evening. The Packers with a most difficult 20-17 loss to the Chicago Bears in Monday Night Football, and really, I think Packer Nation shocked today after the ongoings in Soldier Field. I don't think anybody expected something like that to happen. I don't think anybody expected the Bears to be in the game. It's certainly, TJ, after 2 weeks, the Packers appeared to have a lot of their problems solved in terms of penalties and special teams, and a lot of those problems came back again last night.
Yeah, we played some uncharacteristic football last night. We felt good where we were after the first 2 weeks, after the 2-0 start, and last night we kind of took a step back. We had way too many penalties. Obviously, at 18, you're not going to win many games. Losing that many yardage on penalties, and a couple other phases of the ball. We also took special teams. We had a couple of big plays against us with the blocked field goal and obviously the punt return for a touchdown. So we took a step back, and we knew it was going to be a challenge going into Chicago, and obviously those games hurt the worst, the ones that you feel like you should have won. And obviously the outcome came out different. So, a hard lesson learned. Everybody was upset after the game, and we're going to go back into work tomorrow and fix the mistakes and move on to Detroit.
Yeah, obviously you don't see something like that coming. If you did, you'd maybe do something about it. But it's amazing how things kind of snowball throughout the course of the evening. And I know they're an offense with Jay Cutler where they challenged. They threw the ball a lot. They're an offensive line that sometimes struggle to protect their quarterback, which is more helter-skelter running around. That sometimes just leads to that type of penalties, and it's not an excuse, but sometimes that just happens.
Yeah, and that was the case last night. We felt like we weren't getting many calls going our way, and it's a feeling that you hate to get, but it was one of those feelings yesterday where you couldn't really help but wonder what's going to happen next. What's going to happen. So we weren't happy with the way we played undisciplined football, and we have to keep our poise in those big games, especially against opponent like Chicago.
Now you had today off, the players did, so the actual viewing of the film won't come until tomorrow morning, and it's pretty much a short week because you play again on Sunday, so you've got to get that done, get it out of the way, make your corrections, and then start working on the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, tomorrow it'll be a quick review of Chicago, and Coach said after the game yesterday that this one's going to hurt, but when we go back to work, it's over with. We're not going to really carry that on our shoulder. We're moving forward to Detroit.
Yeah, I heard Mike McCarthy on the postgame say, he said what hurts the most is the fact that this is the Chicago Bears. I really think that there's a lot of people out there, including the fans, that think that the Packers' biggest rival has now turned into the Minnesota Vikings. But I think McCarthy really still has something for the Chicago Bears. He and Lovie Smith has been there a little bit longer than Coach McCarthy has, but when Lovie Smith took his job, he said, my number one priority is to beat Green Bay. And I think Mike McCarthy's, I don't know if it's number one priority, but it's pretty close to it. He wants to beat the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, and we all do, and especially just because, the tradition that we have against the Bears, and them, we're always battling every year for the top of the division. So, it was a tough pill to swallow last night. I know everybody, there weren't many words that needed to be said after the game. We all knew what was wrong, and we know what we have to fix. So, we're going to be a disciplined team moving forward. Everybody's keeping their cool now, and we just finished our third game of the season. We still got a long road ahead of us, so we're not going to tumble now. We're going to keep going, and we're going to get back to playing the football we played in the first 2 weeks.
I don't know if you heard or read any of the comments from last night after the game, but I was a bit surprised to hear guys like Charles Woodson and Nick Collins and Jermichael Finley openly critical of the officiating in last night's game. And there were a lot of calls out of those 18 penalties that were deserved. There were probably a handful that were very borderline that could have gone either way. And sometimes I wonder where does that really get you if you come out afterwards and you start throwing, after you commit 18 penalties, and you start throwing that on the officials?
Yeah, I mean, emotions were running high for that game yesterday, and obviously, anytime you have 18 penalties, I mean, your first instinct is to, throw all the blame on the refs. But, whether they were the right call or whether they were the wrong call, the fact of the matter is they got called, and they affected the way the game turned out. And, just the way that we had so many big plays that were nullified by penalties, the Jermichael touchdown and the 2 interceptions on the last drive that could have given us the ball. And, obviously emotions are high when you get that and you get all excited, and then, you see a yellow flag out there, and, it was just such an up and down game, and guys were pretty disappointed afterwards. So, anytime you have a big game like that you lose, I mean, I think people sometimes say stuff that, they shouldn't say, or say stuff that they don't mean. So, we got the day off today, which is good for us, and we're going to get back to work tomorrow, and, we're going to fix those problems. We're going to move forward.
I would imagine the film room can get a little negative after a performance like that, but are the positives stressed too? Because obviously there's good things that happen in a game like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good things that happened yesterday, but obviously when you lose, the negatives are going to stick out in your mind, and that's what you're going to dwell on. So we realize that we're still playing decent football. We played good last, obviously not good enough to win, but we realize that in a sense we almost beat ourselves with all those penalties, and that kind of shows us if we play a clean game without 18 penalties, what the outcome would have been. And we know it's certainly in that fact we would have won the game if we didn't have all those penalties. But we just gotta stop killing ourselves. And last night was just it wasn't our identity. It was uncharacteristic football of us.
Well, I know a point of emphasis at the beginning of the season from last year was to start faster, because that was something the Packers struggled with a year ago. And last night you came out with a 60-yard touchdown drive on the opening possession, and that's obviously something that stacking successes is what Mike McCarthy likes to say. Those are good things, because it has been such a struggle in the past.
Yeah, that was a positive that we took out of the game yesterday. We got an early lead, and we just got to continue to build on. We got to put scoring drives back to back, and try to get us a decent lead where we can play the football we want to play.
Several long drives, and time of possession 35-49 for the Packers, 24-11 for the Chicago Bears. Coming up later in the show, we'll have our chance to email question of the week, sponsored by Granite Peak Ski Area in Wausau. Your chance to win a ski package for 2 valued at more than $400. Send us your question now at inthehuddleshow.com. inthehuddleshow.com. We'll be back to meet tonight's guest when we come back. More from the fifth quarter in Little Chute after this on the Woodward Radio Network.